This might be recency bias, but Paramount's new Avatar movie might be my favorite animated movie of all time.
Let's continue our journey.
I've watched it 3 times now, and the more I watch it, the more I fall in love with it. I'm gonna try and keep this as spoiler free as possible for the most part, but I will give a warning before we get into spoiler territory. Somewhere between April 10th and April 14th, 2026, clips of Avatar Aang began to leak online, until eventually the whole movie got leaked. And honestly, that really sucks. You can tell the people working on this movie put their heart and soul into the project, and you can tell just how much passion went into it. I'd even go as far as to say this movie is a love letter to the Last Airbender fans, and I don't think that's a take anybody can argue with. There are a few things I want to talk about before we actually get into the movie. Firstly, the animation. This movie is beautiful, like it's actually visually gorgeous. For anybody that appreciates animation and cinematography, you're gonna love the creative choices the team made here. The art style is different from The Last Airbender, which makes sense considering the original show came out in the early 2000s. But honestly, I like the new art style. For as long as I can remember, Avatar has always been compared to Japanese animation, and this movie doesn't really help beat those allegations. If you told me MAPPA, the studio animating JJK, made this movie, I legit wouldn't even argue with you. That's just how good it looks. I found myself getting distracted by small details like how the AI interacts with the characters' clothes during certain scenes. Then I looked at Invincible Season 4 and just sighed. I'm usually not the biggest fan of CGI or 3D animation mixed with 2D animation, but their execution was perfect. Sometimes you genuinely can't tell when they're using 3D animation, which honestly should be the bare minimum. The gang's adult designs also look really sick. I was never really a fan of the Korra designs, especially Aang's, but everybody looked amazing in the movie. The next thing I want to talk about is the performances. I also want to give credit to the voice actors that worked on this. I know people are upset that the original cast from The Last Airbender didn't reprise their roles, but the new cast honestly does a really good job. Katara's voice actress even recreates Katara's iconic Aang scream, and that just gave me all the nostalgia. The music and score are also incredibly good. They added such a strong emotional layer to the movie and made certain scenes hit way harder. Hearing that Avatar theme while seeing Aang use the Avatar state for the first time, man, goosebumps. Alright, so this is gonna be our spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you can leave now. Okay. The events of the movie take place a few years after The Last Airbender and before The Legend of Korra, which meant, at least for me, that the team was gonna have to deal with the continuity issue. Because whatever happens in this movie can't ruin Korra's continuity. I think they handled it pretty well overall, but I'll get into that later. The movie starts with the gang all in their 20s, scattered around the world doing their own thing. Aang is collecting air nomad artifacts to preserve his culture, Zuko is taking care of the Fire Nation as Fire Lord, Kitara is helping with the foundation of Republic City, Sokka is in the Southern Water Tribe inventing weapons for non-benders, and Toph is training earthbenders in the Earth Kingdom. At this point, each member of Team Avatar is a master of their respective element, and the movie gives us a pretty badass scene with Toph to prove it. This movie also does a really good job of showing that Aang still carries guilt for being the reason the air nomads no longer exist. Yeah, the nations are rebuilding, and there's peace now, but he still feels lonely, and he still believes that airbending culture could die out with him. During one of Aang's artifact missions, he learns about a group of non-benders called the Denied, who are trying to collect the staff that belong to a lost avatar. And honestly, this was such a cool way to add more lore to the Avatar universe, while also setting up the movie's main villain. While searching for the staff, Aang discovers another airbender frozen in ice, just like he was. The movie instantly shows you he's from a different time period, because of how ancient his tattoos look. It also shows you he's a much more skilled airbender. There's a scene where he literally saves Aang's life by holding up a part of the mountain that Aang could barely escape from, even in the Avatar state. The mystery airbender explains that the staff can be used to pass on airbending, and we get more backstory and lore about the air nomads, which was honestly one of my favorite parts of the movie. Air was always my favorite element as a kid, and we never really got enough expansion on air nomad culture in the original series. We also get this really cool sensei-student dynamic between Aang and Taga, and there's one shot during those scenes that's by far my favorite shot in the entire movie. I've replayed it over and over again, and I still get distracted by how amazing the animation and cinematography are. The Denied eventually try to stop Team Avatar on their journey to the staff, and this is where we slowly start seeing Taga's priorities and morals shift. He almost kills members of the Denied, and even convinces Aang to push through deadly tornadoes just to reach the staff, which slowly starts creating tension between Taga and Team Avatar. And I like the Kitara as a first person to call him out. And I love the Kitara as a person to call him out. That's just such a Kitara thing to do, you know? She's always been a really good judge of character, and to me, she still protects Aang the same way she did in the original show. Eventually, they arrive at the island where the staff is hidden, and while Aang tries to retrieve the staff, Kitara finally calls out Taga's bullshit. And we get this really cool scene of Taga fighting Team Avatar in a 1v4, which was insanely cool because we get to see the entire gang in their prime, masters of their elements, with chemistry and teamwork that have gotten insanely better over the years. But Taga completely overwhelms them. Aang finally realizes Taga's true intentions, and the two have their first real fight. But even in the Avatar state, Aang still loses, and it's heavily implied that Taga kills them. We literally hear Aang say he murdered them all, and for clarity's sake, Aang is basically in the afterlife. There we meet the lost Avatar, Sonam, who explains Taga's backstory, how he ended up trapped in the ice, and why he believes true peace between the nations is unrealistic. Taga's master plan is to bring back airbenders and restart a war between the nations, and destroying everything Team Avatar accomplished in the last airbender. Kitara eventually brings back Aang from the dead, and yes, they literally died, and the gang travels through the spirit world to stop Taga. Classic Avatar style. We get spirit world shenanigans, weird age distortions, and this hilarious scene where Toph turns into a baby. I'm sorry, but baby Toph, baby Toph is adorable. The gang eventually gets help from Taika Waititi's spirit character, and reaches the temple where Taga is channeling spiritual energy to achieve his master plan. And I have to talk about this one shot. Remember earlier when I mentioned the Easter eggs? My second favorite Easter egg in this movie is Aang wearing the same outfit from his fight against Fire Lord Ozai during the final battle. The attention to detail in this movie is insane. The final fight takes place over Republic City, and we see that Taga, with the power of the staff, has given airbending to the members of the Denied. Aang and Taga have their rematch, but it's still not enough. Taga eventually connects the staff to the temple, becomes overwhelmed by spiritual energy, and transforms into this insanely cool spirit form, and proceeds to beat the absolute shit out of Aang. One thing I really love though throughout this entire fight is how the movie reminds you why Aang got his airbending tattoos at such a young age. He's a genius airbender, and he pulls off an airbending move he had only seen a couple times before, a move so overpowered that Taga was using it while he took out Team Avatar. Eventually, Aang manages to take the staff back, but the spiritual energy starts consuming him too because of all of the anger and betrayal he's feeling in the moment. And right when he's about to lose control and kill Taga, he remembers his time with the airbenders and the monks, and instead of giving in, he destroys the staff. Everything connected to the spirit world immediately returns there, and the movie never fully explains what happens to Taga afterwards. He just kinda disappears into nothingness. My theory is that because Taga wasn't an avatar, and because he channeled so much corrupted spiritual energy through himself, breaking the staff basically left him half spirit, and that's why he faded away. But hey, that's just my theory. If you've got a better explanation, let me know down in the comments. I'm also assuming that because Taga's spiritual energy was corrupted, that's why the Denied lose their airbending too. But again, that's headcanon. The movie ends with the gang gathering more artifacts and building an air temple dedicated to preserving airbending culture. I love this movie. It still hurts that it didn't get the proper promotion, or at the very least a theatrical release. My version of the Moist Meter is gonna be called the Sama Score. And as a first movie review and rating that I'm giving on this channel, Avatar Aang gets a Sama score of, drumroll please, a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I think this movie is damn near perfect. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate you. Congratulations if you made it to the end of the video, and like I promised, my favorite Easter egg was seeing Aang's lightning scar from his fight with Azula. It's such a small detail, but it shows just how much care and attention went into this movie. But that was my favorite Easter egg. Let me know if you noticed any other cool ones down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss an upload. Yeah. Peace.